Hey everyone, so we wanted to do just a quick video for anyone who couldn't make it out to one of our information sessions, just to go over a lot of the stuff that's been coming out in the media the past couple weeks, and hopefully answer some questions that you may have about what you've been hearing and reading and seeing on Facebook. So first off, obviously there have been a bunch of cases in the States of serious lung illness linked to vaping. There have also been, I believe, 8 deaths which have been reported to be linked to vaping, all in the United States. Recently there was a report from London, Ontario of serious lung illness which was also linked to vaping. The information that's been put out in the media has mostly linked that to electronic cigarettes, which most people associate with nicotine liquid. What we're wanting to address is that most of the evidence coming from the States almost entirely is pointing to THC cartridges, which people can also vape, and not nicotine liquid. Also, the one case in Canada was recently disclosed that the product was not purchased in Canada, it was purchased from the United States. So almost entirely, or literally entirely, the issues have been centered around the United States and not Canada. And almost entirely, or literally entirely, the cases have centered around THC products and not nicotine liquid. Almost all or all of the cases in New York State were linked to vitamin E acetate in illegal THC cartridges. And vitamin E acetate is an oil, vitamin E oil. And if you mix that with nicotine liquid, you would see that it doesn't emulsify. You end up with the oil sitting on the top with your propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin below. Propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin are both lipophobic. They won't form a solution with an oil, and it would be very clear if your e-liquid had oil in it because it would all separate out to the top. Nicotine e-liquid is extremely unlikely to be the cause of any of these cases, and all the evidence so far that I've found has pointed to THC cartridges and illicit black market products, mostly purchased in states where consumers don't have access to legal recreational marijuana products. Recently, the report from London, Ontario of the teen who had the serious lung illness linked to vaping, which has now been disclosed to be a product from the United States, but not the actual brand. We've pressured Dr. Christopher Mackey of the Middlesex London Health Unit to release the brand to help protect public health so that no one else gets sick. But he has repeatedly refused on the point of protecting the privacy of the patient. He stated that disclosing the brand would allow their friends and family to connect the dots and realize that it was them. This teen's privacy somehow overrules the potential public health harms from other people ordering that same product from the United States and potentially becoming seriously ill. And it also creates an atmosphere where people who don't understand the message or who interpret the message the way that Dr. Mackey has presented it, make it seem like all vaping products, including nicotine liquid from regulated Canadian vendors, are just as dangerous as this unknown product which this teenager purchased off the internet from the United States. So that's more than likely, very likely, going to deter adult tobacco smokers from choosing vaping, from trying vaping, and definitely is scaring current vapors who have made the switch to go back to smoking. We've had numerous reports of customers and people who have gone back to smoking or have been told by friends and family to go back to smoking, and we've noticed it in our sales that our sales are down as people are obviously taking the bait from the media and choosing to either not vape or to go back to smoking conventional tobacco. It boils down to the media's goal is to keep people afraid. They want people to feel like they're in danger and they need to watch the news to stay up to date on the latest information so that they can be safe. It's totally backwards. We know, everyone knows that tobacco is deadly. It's the only consumer product available in the world that, when used as intended, kills half the people who use it. It's unquestionable that tobacco is deadly, and I'm pretty sure everyone watching this, everyone in Canada, knows someone or has seen someone affected by the harms that come from tobacco. And I think in both countries, a big part of it is the money. I know in Canada, we collect somewhere around $9 billion a year in tobacco taxes, whereas our actual healthcare costs directly linked to tobacco is somewhere around $4.5–5 billion. So that's $4 billion in the government coffers thanks to tobacco smokers every year. If all 5 million tobacco smokers all of a sudden switch to vaping, the government would be out a lot of money. As bad as it sounds, I think that is a big part of it. And in the States, I know that is part of it. In the States, they have the Master Settlement Agreement. States like California have borrowed hundreds of millions of dollars. I believe California is like approaching $1 billion in debt on their Master Settlement Agreement payments, which are based off of tobacco taxes. So as more and more tobacco smokers switch to vaping, California, Ohio, Illinois, just so happens these are all states that are considering passing vape bans, go farther and farther in debt on their Master Settlement Agreement debt.
Well, San Francisco already banned vaping.
That's right. Well, in San Francisco and California, California has the highest tobacco debt. They borrowed the most against their Master Settlement Agreement payments. And I know that they can't afford to have a huge percentage of their smoking population switch to vaping. The states would go bankrupt and would be unable to service their debt payments on their Master Settlement Agreement. So I just wanted to finish off by saying we know that the harms of tobacco smoking are well documented. And while we don't have tons of long-term data on the effects of vaping, we know that vaping is less harmful than smoking combustible tobacco. And all the available evidence, the most comprehensive review of all the data, points to vaping being no more than 5% of the harms of smoking. So that's 95% less harmful. And with smoking being the leading cause of preventable death in this country, I think we should continue to be pushing our public health authorities, our governments and regulators to encourage smokers to make the switch to vaping, continue to allow adult smokers to choose vaping as a less harmful alternative, and model the United Kingdom's efforts, encourage tobacco smokers to consider vaping and to use it to wean themselves off of tobacco and also potentially nicotine. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope to see you again. Have a good one. Vape on.